Welcome to Side Hustle City, and thanks for joining us. Our goal is to help you connect to real people who found success turning their side hustle into a main hustle, and we hope you can too. I'm Adam Kaler. I'm joined by Kyle Stevie, my co-host. Let's get started. All right, welcome back, everybody, to the Side Hustle City podcast, and as always, trusty co-host Kyle Stevie.
Yeah, the new setup looks nice. I like this.
Yeah, you like it? We got a round table now, people. Some of you can see it. We're going to, at some point, put these on YouTube. But yeah, we got a nice little round table. Had somebody work on this for me and put a nice little circle in the middle for our power supply and stuff. It's nice.
Yeah.
We got room to move around.
Looks more professional than the folded table.
Yeah. This looks like it's meant to be here, right?
Mm-hmm. Fits the space.
Yeah, it fits the space well. So today, guys, special guest and veteran Jay Jackson joins us. Hey, Jay.
Hey, guys. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, thanks for being on the podcast. And Kyle, you want to introduce Jay?
Yeah, so Jay's one of my former college teammates. We graduated together from the greatest college in the universe, Hanover College. Seriously, it is the greatest ever. Jay was incredibly intelligent. He got into school, and correct me if I'm wrong here, you're 2 years younger than I am, right?
That's right, yeah.
So Jay came in, so imagine this. So kid's 16 years old, comes off of like a major knee surgery, leaves home in southern Florida, goes up to the middle of nowhere in Hanover, Indiana. If you've ever been to Hanover, Indiana, you know
I have.
Then you know where nowhere is. and he has to, while he's recovering from his knee injury, play wide receiver because we were one of the first spread teams in the country, and run all these routes, do all this stuff with kids 4-6 years older than him. And he had Southern Florida swag with him too. He had all the wristbands and sweatbands and all that other stuff. So he came up with all sorts of confidence.
So wait, the ladies were feeling you too then, because you had the confidence and you were from Florida and that was really cool.
Yeah, I don't think the ladies were as impressed with the wristbands and the earrings as I'd hoped they would be. It's funny. It's so funny. My boys now are 15 and 12 and getting into the 2022 version of swag, and they think that everything I did was hilarious. The sweatbands around the knees and the neck and it was great.
Wow, you had all the sweatbands, man.
Yeah, he brought. I just remember looking at him and thinking, man, he's gonna be really, really hot right now because it's like 92 degrees and humid.
Well, there was a time for the sweatband. There was a window. There was a window there.
Yeah. Well, he had that. It was like right when the U was like.
Oh, Miami.
The U was the U.
Yeah. Deion Sanders days.
Yeah, and he and a couple other of my teammates from Southern Florida. They brought like an absolute enjoyment and excitement for practice. I'd never seen it before. Every football team I'd ever been on, we hated practice. We just wanted to play in the games. Those guys just loved it. Talk shit the whole. Jay's shit's more Christian shit than it is like bad stuff. But the other guys, they would come and they would let you know they were there. It was fun.
Nice.
I had a good time. And he won, what is it, the Panther Award, whatever it was. He's for the hardest working guy in the weight room. He won it.
I can't believe you remember this stuff.
Kyle remembers this. Like he's quiet, but he's like, yeah.
I'm a treasure trove of useless bullshit information. But I do remember that. And he hung out with a really cool crew too. He had Nick Burbage and a few other guys that were really nice guys, really good leaders that he hung out with that I enjoyed when I got to hang out with them. So
good guys.
Yeah. John Perriman as well with the greatest tattoo of all time.
That's amazing. I can't believe to start off with thorough embarrassment of 24 years ago. That's quite the introduction.
Well, Lord knows I wasn't ever going to get to play, and I wasn't a looker, so I had to live vicariously through everybody else.
He said I wasn't a looker.
I wasn't. No game, completely awkward, just complete dork. I just looked at everybody else and just said, yeah, I can't pull that off. I'm just going to stay over here.
Poor Kyle. Poor Kyle. Always beating himself up. Well, Jay, tell us a little bit about you. Tell us, I guess, prior to knowing Kyle Stevie, like what was your life like? What did you get into? What are you doing now?
Yeah. So post sweatbands, we'll take it from the time I took the sweatbands off and
love it.
Moved out to Washington D.C. And started working at the Municipal Securities Rulemaking Board. I didn't know what I wanted to do. I just thought I wanted to make some money and go to business school. I was going to law school at night, and I realized about a year into that it was terrible. It's not at all what I wanted to do. Just felt empty, and so. When I was done with law school, met my wife there. My oldest son was born there in Northern Virginia, and we joined the military as soon as I was done with law school, and did that. I'll give you the 20,000 foot quick view to bring you up to speed, and then we can dive in wherever you want to. But served on active duty for 14 years, deployed a whole bunch. It was a great life, super fulfilling, great for the family, but challenging. A lot of challenges that come with military service, and so we made the call. Just before the pandemic kicked off that we would get out of the military. And so in summer 2020, we did that. I transferred from active duty to the reserve. So we moved out here to Omaha, Nebraska. I joined up with a great law firm here in Omaha. And I'm able to continue sort of scratching that itch with the reserves.
Oh, love it. Love it.
So what made you go out to Omaha?
Omaha.
That's cold.
It's funny. So I was an expert, job hunter. I listened to every podcast and read every book and knew exactly what I needed to do to transition out of the military. And none of it, all of my networking and all of that didn't pan out. It was a sort of a one-off resume sent to a firm here where they called me up and we just sort of connected through a couple of interviews. And so came out to Omaha. I'd never been here before. And we knew though that we wanted sort of a medium-sized city, something that was affordable, but had everything that our family needed. Omaha's great. That is like 0 degrees.
I've heard good things about Omaha.
But other than that, Omaha's great.
Yeah, I've definitely heard some good things about Omaha. So talk a little bit about that. So you're in the military, you're trying to transition out of the military. How many years did you spend? How many years you served?
14 on active duty.
14 years in the military is a long time. So you can somewhat, like people that I know, we talked about earlier before we started recording, can kind of get institutionalized, right? You're in the military. You're like, man, I've been in this thing 14 years. Like, what am I going to do? What goes through your head? What do you start thinking about? And what are some of the steps you would recommend people take? Because we do have people listen to this, active military that are probably thinking the same thing.
Yeah. It's hard. It's hard. And that's for a lot of us, that's a big part of our identity is that service there's community that comes with that. And so, gosh, the steps that you take to start figuring that out. I mean, first of all, it's doing some soul searching and figuring out what's best for you and your family, I think. And for us, I was, the last few years I was gone about a year of that. Just, no bedtimes, no baths at night. No breakfast on Saturday morning, just gone. And so, that'll help you make that decision a lot better. And so, finding something though that would be fulfilling, I think, was a big part of that. I still wanted to do something that mattered. I didn't want to just, walk away and go back to that life in the DC area that I, left in 2002.
Totally makes sense. So how does military life, how does that affect your family? How does that affect your mood, your mentality, and then that transition into, the real world? Like how do you make that step?
Yeah. It's funny. I heard probably a week ago, somebody was telling a story about an old fish walking by a couple little fish, and they say something about how's the water, and the two fish keep walking. The little fish, they say, what is water? Right? They have no idea. And so I think when you're in the military, you don't know you're in the water, sort of being told where to go and what to do. We typically moved every couple years and had some great opportunities. We lived in Wyoming, Georgia, Virginia, North Carolina, England, and then a bunch of trips for me to the Middle East. So great opportunities there. But it's not really until we got out, I think, that we realized what it's like to invest in community, to for our kids to go to a school where we know they're going to go for more than 2 years, to go to a church, where you're not just going to check out after a year and a half because you know that you're moving on again.
Yeah, that can be rough.
To invest in friendships and relationships. It's something that was hard to I think really realize until we were out.
Wow. Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. I mean, it's hard to create roots when you're in that kind of a situation. Like, what do you do? How do you really put down roots in a place when you never know if you're going to be moving in a year? And then for kids, like the kids have to, make new friends. And like you said, going to church, you build these relationships and you build these trusts with people and you really open yourself up to folks and then off you go. Now you have to tell those same stories to a whole new group of people.
Yep. That's absolutely right. There are different kinds of, I don't want to undersell sort of the camaraderie and community that exists in the military. But, geographical leaving matters. I can talk about what great community I have, but I can't go have coffee with any of those people tomorrow morning. There's something special, I think, about that face to face, look another dude in the eyes and sort of relationship.
Sure. So talk about what you do now. Talk about like what you do for work, for business. What led you there?
Yeah. So I mentioned I had my first job out of college was at the Municipal Securities Rulemaking Board. And so they're basically, I worked in the buying and selling of municipal bonds. And so, when a municipal bond is a baby, it starts with at a government, a state or local government that is selling off some debt. And so now I'm sort of back in that world, but mostly working with issuers and lenders for multifamily housing.
Interesting. Okay, so you're in the real estate world too, then.
A little bit. I do mostly on the bond side, kind of that public finance side. But I'm getting dangerous, I guess, in the real estate. Trying not to commit malpractice over there.
Yeah. So what? How do you? What side hustle type of stuff in your industry do you see potentially or opportunities to start businesses in the industries that you've been in? Maybe even in the military. I mean, is there an opportunity to help people, who are military, who have your experience to be able to help other people transition? Or is there anything in the bond world that you see opportunities in for people who may want to start a little side business?
Yeah. So these are the questions that I was asking myself, sort of as I got out and was trying to find my way in the world again, mid-career, going from a place where I had, some reputation and some experience to sort of starting fresh at 38, 39 years old. Have a great team on the public finance side. Was so excited to just, work with a team that I loved and could work with, even though we do it mostly remotely now. But what I started looking for was other ways to serve. And so sort of started going to local political meetings and didn't really find it there. Was just super kind of bummed about the direction our country is heading. And so sat down one day last March, and I guess what normal people will call journaling is not something I'd ever done really before.
Oh, my wife is all about journaling. She loves journaling. Yes. Just bought 2 new journals over the weekend. Yep. At Target. I
had never done it before in my life, but I don't know where my wife, Nikki, and the kids were one Saturday morning, but just started to write, I guess it's journaling that I did on accident. And that has turned into a book, which is consumed about the last 10 months of my life. And so that has been a place where I've found sort of, my side gig in between my military service and my role on the public finance team at my firm to keep serving and hopefully I think kind of make the world a better place, make our country better.
Well, it's a hell of a place to like cut your teeth on becoming an author. I don't have the screen from me. It's Decent Discourse, right? And the name of the book?
That's it. Yep. Decent Discourse.
Yeah. So like you're just going to jump in as brand new author and try to help people stop being so damn partisan about everything and learn to listen to each other. So it's just like jumping in and being like Plato or Aristotle for our generation. It's going to be.
It's a hefty goal. It's a hefty goal. Yeah. There's some, I kind of have the pressure off of me though, too, in sort of terms of like, getting it out, getting it published. I'm not worried that people are going to, fix all of our sort of political problems and the way we treat each other before I get it out. I think that we'll still have some of those problems by the time it comes out. But but that's kind of part of the idea, is to give people some hope and some practical ideas on what we can do to kind of take care of some of the indecent discourse, I guess, that is going on in our country right now.
I would like to see rhetoric put into grade schools. And I don't know that there are enough people qualified to properly teach rhetoric. Yeah. But I really feel like that personal finance.
That would actually, you're smart. Yeah, that would be good.
Personal finance and like proper nutrition, not the standard American diet, but actual like real nutrition that won't make you fat by eating it. Like that, I think those three things would need to replace something that's just not worth the time to learn. Especially when you get into high school. There's a lot of stuff that you don't need to take in high school that
nonsense stuff. Yeah.
Like, why would I understand that physics is a tough science class, and we were in like special class, the level of classes we were at, we had to take it. But when am I ever going to build a bridge? When am I ever going to really care about how fast something falls off of a roof? Like that doesn't do anything for me. Learning how to properly listen and learning how to properly voice my argument without coming across as a crass asshole, that's a pretty nice tool to have in your tool belt.
Yeah, agreed. In law school, right, gives you a little bit of that. And I think that's kind of where I'm hopeful in this area. I'm not a historian or a political scientist, but to sort of, as an attorney, sort of build the case to take kind of a history buff, right, to take Lincoln and Margaret Chase Smith and George Washington, and some of the military experience and history that I've had, and sort of kind of build that together to show how we've overcome the challenges that our nation has faced is kind of the goal of what I try to do in the book.
Love it. So, I mean, you can see that people are being torn apart. But down deep, that a majority of people that are probably going to read your book are probably somewhere in the middle, like close to the center. I mean, we talked about it a little bit before things were on. Is there anything in the book that talks about how do I deal with someone who's extreme? How do I deal with someone like maybe a brother or a sister or a cousin or somebody who's constantly online, and I could see them just ruining their own lives and their reputations by posting just stuff that not everybody's going to agree with. Some people might be completely offended by.
This is like this. If my wife could ask a question right now, that would have been it. For me, she'd be like, how do I get my husband to stop looking like such a dickhead online?
I've done it too. So yeah.
Yeah. So let me start by saying, I'm kind of an idealist, right? I really think that we can make a difference, and I want to give people some hope. It's a little bit like compound interest though, right? Maybe we're just sort of changing the trajectory by 1 degree. I guess I'm mixing metaphors here. If you're increasing it by 0.1% now, over time, right? You'll be able to see real change. It might not look different next week, but it'll look different in 10 years. And so, yes, there is, what I try to look at is 5 distinct problems with our political discourse, and kind of offer some solutions to each of those. And one of them is absolutely just how hyperpartisan we are. And the answer, I think, right, is what I call being radically moderate. And so that was something that was coined by Elliot Richardson, who resigned as Nixon's attorney general, right? He refused to fire special counsel Archibald Cox, or special prosecutor Archibald Cox. And so kind of going through and using Elliot Richardson as an example of, hey, how do you deal with, people that are pulling you in different directions? And because, I think that the families, I mean, boy, there's so much to unpack here. I think people care about not being able to have, a meal with their parents anymore. I was talking to somebody yesterday who, her parents are sort of, pulled in one direction that she feels like she can't have a relationship with them anymore. And that's where I think we really see it. And so, that's a little slice of what we try to tackle in the book.
Oh, I love it. I love it. Just to help people kind of maybe even just be aware of what they're doing. Because I think sometimes people just aren't aware. Or you live in this little bubble and you think everybody agrees with you. And, you're completely sold on this. You've been, brainwashed by, more radical people. And you think, I got it figured out. I've spent all this time, researching this and thinking about this and having discussions about this. I'm right.
Well, I think it's part of it too is what you were talking about earlier, where you were using it in a different context, but education. I think that smart people on both sides have stopped allowing themselves to be educated. They think they've learned everything there is to know.
Oh, I'm done. Yeah.
Because they just keep reading stuff that like strengthens. It's like the confirmation bias on steroids, as opposed to learning by, doing a SWOT analysis of your position. Like, what's my strength? What's my weakness? Where's the opportunity to grow? What's the threat to my personal growth? I don't think a lot of people do that.
Yeah. So echo chambers, right, is one of those 5 problems that we talk about. And the answer, I think, is relationships. We've got kind of a crisis of loneliness in our country. So first, just having a friendship. I talked about having, coffee with a guy face to face earlier. That's unusual. That's remarkable in our country. I mean, we have a real crisis of loneliness where vast majorities of people are saying that they don't have one friend, especially men. But women are reporting higher levels of friendlessness than they ever have as well. And so you take it a step from there to building relationships with people who disagree with you or have a different background or different color of skin. Right. That's a huge component of getting out of those echo chambers and sort of continuing your education, right? To your point, Kyle, not stopping once you get out of those rhetoric classes in high school and continue and kind of throughout your whole life.
Well, I feel like a lot of people too, they could feel disenfranchised in different ways, maybe by their skin color, by their gender, but also by the fact that they may not feel loved. They may not feel like they have a community around them.
Yeah, they have their self-limitations and their self-doubt.
Yeah. And they're projecting, they get angry, right? And they project that where in whatever outlet they can, right? Maybe they don't have that person to lean on in their life and they go out on Facebook or they go on Twitter and they send out their disgust that they have with the world, all the problems that they have with the world, which could actually be something that they could work on themselves.
So instead, all they need is a hug.
Or just somebody to just work through it with them.
That's a simple way of saying it.
Yeah.
Yeah, just like some sort of physical contact with another human being.
But yeah, I mean, but it keeps you down. This negativity, this negative world that you're in, we've got enough things going against us in this life. We've got enough things working against our success. We've got too many barriers in place.
Yeah, we're getting old. We're losing our hair.
You're a woman. You're
fat,
black.
You're weight.
And
this is me talking about myself. I can't lose weight. My hair's thinning. I got a lot of shit. I got to work out mentally.
There's things, right? And there's a lot of stuff working against you. You know what? And nobody's going to come down from somewhere and save you. It's up to you. It's up to us, right? It's up to the individual to decide, hey, am I going to sit here and let all this negativity, let this information about Ukraine right now, let this information about our president, am I going to let this stuff get to me, or am I going to move forward with my life?
Yeah. Yeah. Adam, you talk about it. There was some research that was in the Washington Post a few months back, but it talks about how we sort of look for people to hate together online. And so you pick whether it's Trump or Biden or billionaires or socialists or fascists or whoever it is. And we find these little communities where we sort of stack our, these hatreds on top of each other, but that's really manifesting itself in us. And then, it goes out into the real world. It doesn't just stay on Facebook. It doesn't just stay on Twitter. And so that's the real danger, I think, for our country.
I think it is. And I think you've got people who are online complaining about people hating their community, but then they're hating another community who they claim hates their community.
We saw it in real time here because we are like 2 miles away from Covenant Catholic. And Nick Sandman was a junior there when they went to the Right to Life March. And I couldn't have cared less about Twitter before this. I couldn't give a shit. I was never on it. I didn't care about it. I thought it was nutbags on it.
I didn't either. Yeah.
And then I watched, like, you start seeing, like, starts getting passed around the community, things that people are saying about these kids before all the footage came
15 years old. They were grown people.
And we just happened to know parents who knew whose kids told them exactly what had happened before any of the videos or anything ever got released. And before that could even happen, they had people from CNN, from all these major news stations,
Washington Post,
after a kid that's like the same age as my son's, like just hating him, like wanting to end his life because they saw a picture of him smirking in front of this guy banging a drum in his face.
That's all they needed.
Yeah. So
that's all they needed. Right? They saw him, a kid with a smirk, and it triggered something with some kid in junior high school that had the same smirk as this kid that bullied them or got something they didn't get or whatever.
So, like, that was when my mind was blown. Like, holy shit, people are insane.
Yeah.
How do you get so invested in a kid from he's from Edgewood or where he's from? How do you get so invested in a high school junior? You live in Seattle, Washington. Why on God's green earth do you need to threaten physical harm against a kid? Kathy Griffin, you were on a pretty successful sitcom. Why do you care what this kid, like, you have, like, without context, just the picture.
Yeah.
People went absolutely ballistic.
Because there's no accountability too.
And that poor kid who was misidentified first, who wasn't even there. He was at his brother's rehearsal dinner for their wedding. They found out where he was at. They called the restaurant that he was eating dinner at. It was his rehearsal dinner. They called his parents' work. They called Cincinnati State, where he was going to try to be a culinary specialist, whatever the hell the major is there. And it wasn't even the right kid. They tried to dox the wrong kid. Like, it was that kind of just that level of craziness that we got to see firsthand because we had, like, a degree of separation from the parents of the kid or the actual kid himself through my boys. And it's like, holy shit. This is real.
Jay, talk a little. So to Kyle's point here, talk a little bit about the dangers of that kind of stuff, of doxing, of all this. I mean, there are literally people out here trying to ruin people's lives, for some temporary anger they feel.
Yeah. I think there are a lot of layers to it, which is one of the things I try to do in Decent Discourse too, is simplify it. And so I think three things when I think about the kid there on the steps of the Lincoln Memorial. The first thing is that we treat each other with such contempt over opinions. It goes from disagreement to contempt. We get there so fast. We get so angry with each other. And so that I think is an important part of it. And a lot of that takes some self-reflection and some, actually knowing each other's stories, understanding, hey, who is this kid? What's going on? Let's slow down. Let's be a little bit skeptical about what we read. And that's one of 100 stories that probably plays out like that, every year on Twitter. The other one is that, I think we live in a victimhood culture right now, where we are extra sensitive, extra snowflakey, on every political spectrum and every facet of our life. We sort of are losing the value of having thick skin, and of having some dignity of being above, sort of these petty things. We're quick to dive into the mud. And then the other thing is finding trustworthy news media, and being able to have the skill to kind of dive through that and figure it out, which goes against our instinct, I think, to find media that tells us how smart we are already and tells us the things that we already knew. So, when Kathy Griffin picks up whatever newspaper she reads and sees the exact thing that confirmed what she knew all along, of course it's easy to run with it, and I think we all do that, right? Kind of guarding against that in us is hard. It's hard work.
Yeah, I think it is. And is there a way? So I know you probably talk about this in your book. Is there something you can do to protect yourself from that? Is it like an awareness thing? Is it just like, hey, look, human beings do this. Don't do it.
Yeah.
Right now, you really want to get on Twitter and you really want a virtue signal and you want all your Twitter followers to know that you're on the right side of things, but don't do it. Don't do it because it's your lizard brain right now telling you to, and your lizard brain is usually wrong.
Well, there's a football coach named Herm Winningham. He's the head coach at Arizona State now.
Yeah.
But when he was, he would always speak at the rookie symposium for NFL players. And his main phrase when it came to like how to live your life off the field is don't hit send. Type it all out. Look at it, but don't hit send. Sleep on it. Wait in the morning. If it's still something you want to send out, go ahead and send it out. Nothing's that important that you got to send it out in a fit of rage or fit of overenjoyment or whatever it is. Because once it goes online, it's online forever. Because there's always a dork or nerd that can scrub it somewhere and find it.
Yeah, agreed 100% with that. And I think the other thing is, let's say you do hit send. Most of us do hit send on that. Is we do it in sort of slogans, and we want to talk about CRT or who's a Nazi or a fascist without much thought to what we're actually saying. And so those would be messages better left unsent, or at least fully explained, which our social media doesn't really allow for. But Adam, to go to your question about a little bit of this goes to there was a Chief of Staff of the Air Force, General Mark Welsh, who kind of had a tagline that every airman had a story. And so one of the things that I try to do is carry that forward to everybody, and try to really slow down and get to know somebody's story before you sort of jump all over them. It's really hard to, if I don't know Kyle and I see him express some opinion that I disagree with online, or I see a video of him doing something, I'm super quick to make a judgment about that. But if Kyle's my neighbor, or I've known him 25 years like I have, there's a grace that you give somebody when you have an understanding of where they're coming from or what they've been going through.
Dude, you just said we've known each other 25 years.
That's crazy, dude.
Is that right? Is my math right? 24.
Close enough. It's so old. We're so old.
It's we're getting there, man. It's nuts. I remember Three's Company. Remember that TV show?
Yeah, dude.
It was a great show.
I remember waking up this morning and hurting for no good reason.
Speaking of shows that would be canceled, that one would be canceled real quick.
Three's Company?
Three's Company?
Why?
I don't know. Just the stuff they would talk about. Like, you look at some of these older shows nowadays, and you're like, oh my God, how'd they get away with that? Some of those older Disney cartoons even.
Dude, some of those 80s movies that are like PG and you watch them with your kids now, you're like,
yikes.
How in the hell is this only PG?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, those were
I feel like that about shows that are 5 years old sometimes. Half the episodes of The Office. I'm like, they couldn't get away with that.
No, to your point. No, seriously, to your point. Yeah. This is how fast this moves. This is how fast public opinion, because of the internet, because of the speed of, how quickly pop culture can change. So, the wokeness was really cool, like a year ago, maybe, like while Trump was president. I think the wokeness really hit its peak. And now people are kind of getting sick of it. People are like, look, man, I get it, but
you need an antithesis to something to make the protagonist grow. And once you take away the antithesis,
that's a good point. It
just kind of fizzles out.
That's a good point. But there's some fatigue. There's like anger fatigue, I feel like, especially with COVID. People are stuck at the house. The kids can't go to school half the time. You got masks on the kids. You got all these situations going on that are pissing people off. All you need is to pick up Twitter and then hear somebody complaining about something. It's just, I'm done. I think most people that are rational are just done with it. Like, you don't sound smart. Even if you're right, you sound like a boisterous asshole. If you're wrong, you sound like an idiot. Like, either way, you can't, don't post it, right? To Kyle's point, don't hit send.
Yeah.
Either way. Yeah. Like, oh, I'm so smart. Look at me. Or, I'm going to post something about economics I know absolutely nothing about that would ruin America, but I think I'm smart. And then anybody who knows even a little bit about economics looks at that and says, wow, this person's an idiot.
Oh, I'm guilty of all this. I've posted shit, and I've had my constitutional law professor get on there and just make me look like an ass.
Yeah, but in the side hustle world, kind of you're good. I mean, your company's fine, and you're doing really well out there and all this. But if I'm trying to get customers, I have a business. I'm trying to put it out on social media. I just posted, if you just posted some crazy off the wall, far left, far right crap on the internet, and then your next post was, oh, hey, by the way, come shop at my online store. You just alienated half your customers.
This is beside the point, but there's someone that that I don't know personally, but I know from the area that is a model of sorts. Mm-hmm. And on their social media, they also have pictures. They'll still have pictures of like they sell for their book of them modeling in a specific way. And then they have pictures with their kid in the same Instagram.
And these modeling pictures are a little risque?
A little risque. And then but the model is in the same, there's not like a professional one.
Oh.
And a family one that's private. It's all together.
They're
it's
all
really
kind
strange.
of, the brand is confusing. Yeah.
Yeah. It's like, what are we going for here?
Like your personal brand. Honestly, we just had a great conversation with Susan Harrow, the PR lady who prepares people for the Oprah show and things like that. Unbelievable woman. I mean, she's even like a black belt in Taekwondo
Aikido.
and Aikido.
She'll break your freaking wrist. You get
she's
that
no
wrong,
joke, right? But she talked a lot about personal brand. And I think a lot of people don't know enough about their personal brand. Do you discuss that in the book at all?
Yeah, no, not in the book, but I'll tell you, I've had the challenge personally. So, I started talking to literary agents. And I sort of came out of a military world where I didn't have really any social media a year ago this time. I was off of social media completely, mostly, apolitical, nonpartisan. And a literary agent told me, hey, you're a first-time author. You don't have a platform. You don't have a podcast. I've got a couple friends that have written books. One is the chairman of her county political party. So she's got sort of some reputation and a platform through that. Another guy wrote a book on bourbon. He's got an Instagram page, Bourbon Scout. John Tremazzo's an amazing guy. You should check that out. No, but he had a platform of 25,000 people ready to grab his book that I didn't have. So I start this blog. And the blog it's at decentdiscourse.com, where I try to, just start introducing folks to the themes that are going to be in the book, and also things that I know, national security stuff and military themes as well. But trying to figure out, hey, what is this blog going to be about? How am I going to be the decent discourse guy? I can sort of be kind of cynical and sharp-tongued. And so, decent discourse for me is as aspirational as it is a reflection of who I am. It's who I want to be as much as anything. And so it's been a good opportunity to try to discipline myself in doing that.
So the blog's where I found them. We were on LinkedIn together or whatever, but when he started doing the blog and he sent it out to his contacts to like it, and I started reading through it, I was like, shit, he's good. He's really good.
Yeah.
So that's why I wanted him to come on here, because as you can hear, he's really good.
Well, how do you promote a blog like that? So, anything you do, you have to build a community. I mean, we've got the Side Hustle podcast. We're working on building that community through mostly our Facebook group, right? Ads.
Once we go on YouTube and everybody sees how hot I am, I think we're going to be pretty good.
Yeah. They're going to be like, who's this guy? Like every bored housewife is going to subscribe to our channel.
Shh, listen to the podcast. I'm watching the podcast. Can you teach me how to use YouTube on this TV?
Yeah. Honey, go work in the garage. I'm watching Kyle right now.
Who's he with? Adam Kohler?
Cooler. In Germany, it's Kula. It's like Kula. So I'm just letting y'all know. Cooler.
You should just change it.
I should just change it. That's how I should pronounce it from now on.
You got so much money, you should now.
Not enough to just live.
Leave Kaler and Price Hill and just go Cooler now that you're.
Yeah, I'll have enough money when I can live in Hawaii and not ever have to do anything ever again. That'll be when I have enough money. Yeah. So Jay, the mindset of an entrepreneur. You've been in the military. You've seen people, who probably had it, right? Had it, always coming up with ideas, thinking of better ways to do things. Those folks, what do you see in them? I mean, it sounds like you kind of have a little bit of psychology going on here. Like you study people a little bit. Probably got you've probably looked at some anthropology stuff in the past. And what are some of the things you see and what is helpful to folks like that, in your opinion? Yeah,
that's super interesting. And a lot of it is working, I've worked for some great leaders in the military. And so I'm definitely drawn on as much juice as I can from those folks. A lot of it is history. I love biographies. I read lots of history, lots of military history, and lots of biographies. And so just trying to take little pieces of, Colin Powell's book on leadership, of Admiral McRaven's book on leadership, and glom onto those. But the one thing, if I had to talk about one thing, it'd be work. This blog. You asked about how you promote a blog. Here's how I started, Adam. This literary agent said, "Hey, you need a platform." I thought, well, I'll start a website and I'll get on social media and I'll start doing it. I've already got 30,000 words of this book. I'll put little pieces of the book on there. This will take me 10 minutes a week. Anybody
steps.
who has started a blog or managed social media for their side gig knows that is not a 15-minute a week thing.
No.
And it's been lots of, late nights, early mornings, and weekends with a very gracious wife to get that thing off the ground. The other thing is super uncomfortable for me, especially maybe it's a military thing, but being self-promotional is super uncomfortable and super awkward. And you have to sort of swallow your pride and ask people for help. You got to get out there and say, "Hey, will you share this? Will you forward this?" I hate doing that. But that's been the most successful way to sort of get the word out.
Sweatband Jay would not agree with that statement at all. He was all about self-promotion. He was the 60-year-old white Deion Sanders coming from Florida to show all the Indiana kids they suck.
Speaking of, Jordan Nevels is with Deion Sanders.
I know.
This weekend, or he was just there this week at Jackson
Jay,
State.
a guy that does a lot of his company's planning out of this office, has a nutrition company. He played football at UK. And so he landed Jackson State as a client for his nutrition out of here.
Not Jared Lorenzen. Rest in peace.
Oh no, not my buddy. I love Jared. I knew Jared. I knew Jared from third grade till he passed. It was
really.
Yeah,
I didn't know that.
Yeah, he's about as down to earth as good of a dude.
You got a Super Bowl ring.
Yeah, he just got addiction's a nasty thing, man. Whatever it is you're addicted to can consume you. It sucks.
Yeah, that's good.
But Jordan Nevels also went to Highlands like Jared did. Also played at UK like Jared.
But addicted to working out and eating right.
He looks like he was carved out of fucking granite, man.
Yeah.
He is. If you look him up,
he's going to be on the podcast.
He's a fitness model. Yeah, he's a super Christian guy, super fit guy, and he hit it off with Primetime and got a contract for Jackson State.
Yeah, he's
That's
doing
awesome.
all right.
He's a brand new company, so it's a big gain. I know they don't have a very big budget, so it's not like going to make them rich, but it's a big hit for him to get.
Oh, 100%. But if you're not Jordan and you can't just take off your shirt, or us, I mean, come on,
Hey, let's be honest.
You can't just take off your shirt and all of a sudden you got 100,000 followers. I mean, you actually had to work at it. You had to ask people. There's, when we talk to a lot of entrepreneurs, a lot of them feel like they have this imposter syndrome. Am I good enough for this? Is my story, is what I'm trying to talk about, does anybody care about this? A lot of that can kind of dissuade you from going and asking those people, hey, I wrote this thing. I don't know if it's any good, but will you share it for me?
Yeah. That's great. And I'll say, a lot of us are on the other side too. I would say, as you see those people that are doing that, reach out to them and tell them you appreciate it. And there's nothing that puts wind under your sails like, somebody that you don't know, reaching out to you and saying, "Hey, you wrote about this. It was really important to me. I really appreciate it. It really gave me, hope." One of those, I take one of those emails, over 30 new, followers to my page or email subscriptions. I know monetarily that doesn't work out, but I'm doing this for that. That's why I'm doing it, is because I care, because it's a continuation of military service and civic service for our country. So that's what invigorates me and keeps me doing it.
Well, we get about 1,000 downloads a month currently. We're slowly creeping up to being like, I don't know,
relevant.
Yeah. People actually
hey, but it's great content. I'm seriously, I'm not just saying this because I'm trying to.
Him. We're going to give him 1,000, opportunity to get 1,000,
and that 1,000 could turn into 10,000. And you're going to be up there in perpetuity. So who knows how many over time you're going to get. But I think one thing is your personality. You're a super nice guy, Christian guy, got a military background. People want to share your stuff, I would think, right? anymore, we're very cynical. We live in a cynical society, right? I see a lot of side hustle motivational stuff like, work until your haters ask if you're hiring. Things like that, where it's like you just assume you've got haters. You assume there's these people out there that don't want to see you win.
Yeah, I love the people that have haters. I'm like, you make like $30,000 a year just like doing temp stuff here at this office. Nobody gives a shit.
Yeah, nobody cares.
Nobody hates Kyle Stevie because nobody gives a shit about Kyle Stevie. My wife loves me. My family loves me. Yeah.
Rise and grind. Yeah. But people have haters, right? Like, I mean, you got some people that don't even have that, right? And they don't want to see you do well, right? That's the cynical nature that we have or whatever. Yeah. Do you have anybody that you sometimes, you look back and you say, man, that teacher in high school said I wasn't going to do anything. That guy that used to bully me in high school said I was a nerd.
He graduated from high school at 16 and was playing it and got into Hanover. And then last we talked, I remember you were going to go to Washington U for law school first,
St.
weren't
Louis,
you?
Yeah.
Or you were accepted?
Oh, I really am amazed at your, so I applied to all of the Georgias, and what Kyle forgets, right? I skipped when I was very, very young. I skipped grades until I was a firm C student. And so the older Georgias, Georgetown and George Washington, were not interested in my services as a law student, but I went to George Mason, now the Antonin Scalia Law School. But the Air Force sent me back for a master's law in international law. Maybe that's what you're talking about, Kyle. In 2016, I went to George Washington to do that.
I thought it was Washington U in St. Louis. Maybe I was wrong. I don't know. It's been, as you so kindly pointed out, 24 freaking years.
Did you used to watch the show Jag?
I saw like 2 episodes of it. Couldn't get into it.
See, I'm in advertising and I never watch Mad Men. I'm like, I get enough of that at work.
Dude, I watch. Yeah. You ever seen the show House?
Yeah. I
used to watch the episodes and they make every illness seem like this great mystery that only House can solve.
Yeah.
I watched, we streamed it on Netflix or whatever. It was playing like 4 shows in a row while we were at a family get together with my in-laws. My father-in-law guessed right on every single freaking illness within like 5 minutes of the show. Like very first set of symptoms. He's like, is this, and this? I was like, spoiler alert, Dick. I mean, come on, man. I want to see House do this. That's why we're watching, because House is such an asshole when he does it. It's hilarious.
Yeah.
I digress, like always.
Yeah. No, Dick does his own research, it sounds like. So that's great to hear.
He's a doctor, so it was like, it seemed like pretty common for him.
Yeah.
The hospital to say
it was like not a big deal. Yeah, right.
Like, this is a TV show. I do this every day. Film me.
He missed his calling. He could have been on television. So Jay, what's next for you? So talk a little bit more about the book. Like, how do people get it? When do they get it? All that good stuff. Or can they help as you move along through this process and everything? How can they connect with your community? Yeah.
Thanks, Adam. Number one, book is going to come. A book is going to drop. I think that's what I'm supposed to say it right. The book drops in May, is our current timeline. We've got editing and publishing and all that to go on. And like 90% of other book sales in our country, it's all going to be Amazon focused. So my website is decentdiscourse.com. We'll have links there. You can sign up there to be a member of the launch team. We're still trying to get everything off the ground. But yeah, super excited about it. You can, again, sign up for the launch team, sign up for the blog that Kyle mentioned earlier. It's all there.
I'm going to reach out to you later because I'm about, I would say about 10 to 14 days away from having my rough draft written for my book.
Yeah.
It's nowhere near as interesting as here's this, but it still needs to be published. So I need to get some eyes on it. So I'll reach out to you and see if I can get connected with your people, if you don't mind.
Awesome. Yeah. That's been side hustles, finding editors, finding, designers to do. I'm sort of aesthetically challenged. So finding real creative people to do stuff like covers has been, work. Like we said earlier, it just takes a lot of time and a lot of effort and a lot of reaching out to folks and asking stupid questions to figure out.
Oh, stupid questions I have. I'm not worried about that part of it.
Yeah.
Oh, I love it, man. All right. Well, any parting words before we get off here? Like any wise words of advice? What are some of the really cool things that maybe sparked the light bulb in your head to go off as you were going through the process of writing?
Yeah. Boy, there's so much, anybody who's been living in our country for the last 5-6 years as we seem to have become increasingly polarized, but just reading op-eds, reading books and seeing discouraging stuff that's been going on. But Adam, you mentioned earlier how fast our country changes, how we swing back and forth, whether it's pandemic related or political related. I'm actually super encouraged by that. And so I think that there are folks that might think that maybe accurately that I'm, idealistic, right? Or that this is too big a hill to climb up. I think that we can do it, right? And kind of one of the kind of the taglines for the book is, hey, let's do it just kind of one conversation at a time, one relationship at a time. I think that can spread out to our communities. I'm super hopeful about the direction of our country.
I love it. Well, if you're hopeful, then I'm hopeful.
He knows better than we do.
Now we just got to worry about what's going on in Ukraine. We got to be hopeful for them.
Yeah. Prayers for our people.
That's
Man,
right.
I got that one completely wrong in my prediction. Unless you know what I know about geopolitical bullshit. I didn't think Putin, whatever his name is, was crazy enough to do it.
Well,
whoops.
Yeah.
Sorry.
He did it.
I was wrong.
He's been waiting to do that for decades.
He's a bad dude. He's a bad, and that's one of the downsides of, when we say we're at war with everybody in our country, we're at war with the left, we're at war with the right. When we say that everything is, taking away our freedoms or everybody's a fascist, right? We lose sight of where the real evil is in the world.
Oh,
and
yes.
I think it definitely sits right there in Moscow.
Amen to that. Well, Jay, I appreciate it. Thank you, sir, for being on the show. Thank you for your service. Thank you for writing this book. I think it's going to do a lot of good for a lot of people. And the amount of time you probably spent putting into this thing. And just need to get the word out there and possibly help people and help heal this country a little bit.
Thanks, guys. I'm super grateful for you having me on.
Yeah, it was great to reconnect. Potentially see you at homecoming. It is the 20th this year, I think. I have to make my way up there.
Oh, my gosh, it is. No, probably not. It's so far away. Omaha's in the middle of nowhere. I wish we could do that. I haven't been back to Hanover since 2003.
It's totally.
Would love to.
I've only been back a couple times for I think for our 15th anniversary or something for our conference championship team was the last time, and it was totally.
I wish
different.
we were close. Yeah,
but I think Swisher's out in Swisher. It's either these are two totally different areas of the country, but it's either North Dakota or Nebraska. One of those big states that's flat starts with the letter N. He's the one.
These big rectangles, man.
Yeah, he was coaching 7-man football.
Oh,
yeah,
7-man. That's interesting.
Yeah, it looked pretty cool.
Got to have some speed at safety.
Yeah, I would not have been allowed to play 7-man football.
No.
7-on-7. That's where it's at.
Yeah, it is. But they actually have They have 3 offensive linemen, so they don't have the full repertoire of receivers. I guess it's more like arena football in a way.
Kind of is, yeah. It sounds like it would be. Cool.
That's really cool.
Either way, I wouldn't have been athletic enough to play it.
Well, we can't do nothing now.
Well, now I can't, no. No, I could.
Golf.
Fuck no.
That's all you can do now, man. This is what we do when we get old.
No. Do you golf?
No.
First of all, it's way too expensive to suck at. If I want to suck at something, I want it to be under $25. And then it's frustrating too, because you're like, I was an athlete. I should be able to hit this goddamn white ball straight. And it goes everywhere. And then you're like, oh, it's not moving. So I should be able to putt this thing in. I don't have to make it go into the air at all. Just go straight, ball. And then it just doesn't. And you're like, and then I would practice more, but I see the guys that practice more. And I feel like it just nibbles at you just a little bit. Like makes you feel like, oh man, I'm really good now. And they get it ruins their day. It's like the big time UK basketball fans. Like if Kentucky loses, they burn their clothes and they sit in soot for the old biblical times until the next game. That's how some of those guys get. They buy new clubs every year and they beat me by 6 strokes. And I'm like, you just wasted $3,000 to be terrible to support.
Yeah. Pickleball. Is pickleball?
That's it. I was going to say that.
I'm an old guy.
That's it. Pickleball.
Yes, there you go.
Yes.
That's a game I could play with my wife and I. It's the first sport we've ever done where we play together. We're on the same team, and we suck, but we're still on the same. She's good. She can get the shit. I'm just fat and slow. And
my wife did her DNA. She's got fast twitch muscles. I don't know how, because she's like way like British, Scottish kind of situation, you know?
She's
got the fast twitch muscles.
There's a lot of fast Brits and Scots.
Yeah, I guess.
That's what the Premier League used to be.
Christian McCaffrey.
You don't know anything about soccer. See, that's the thing.
Christian McCaffrey. He's got to be from Scotland.
No. They're endurance
The whole
muscles.
McCaffreys.
Soccer players are endurance muscles. They're not necessarily fast twitch.
Sprint.
Football players fast twitch.
Football players, no, the soccer players have a type 1 and type 2.
They got the mix, but they don't have like the double R on the whatever.
I bet if they didn't have to run 6 miles a game and that they were allowed to just do like football players do and just focus on short sprints and weightlifting, some of those dudes would be all type 1.
Condition that.
Yeah.
Like Jay Jackson in sweatbands.
What do you need for pickleball?
What you need for pickleball?
Yeah. Is that double R?
I think that is.
I don't think you get that. You don't get that happen.
I don't think pickleball relies on muscles as so much as it relies on like how mean were you to your Achilles growing up and have you stretched at all? Because if you haven't been doing anything, your Achilles is going to go into the back of your calf.
Yeah.
You'll feel it. Yeah.
You'll be done for a year.
Anyway.
What? It's anatomy, man.
It is.
It's the science.
Well, here we go. Now we're Dr. House over here. Let's go.
Watch 5 shows and know it all.
He knows it all. All right, Jay. Well, I appreciate it again. One more time with the URLs. Let people know how they get a hold of you.
www.decentdiscourse.com. Appreciate it.
Yes, sir. We just had a little discourse at the end of that.
Great talking to you, Jay.
Conversation. Good talking to you, Jay. Thank you, sir.
Take care, guys.
All
Thank
right,
you.
see ya. Thanks for joining us on this week's episode of Side Hustle City. Well, you've heard from our guests. Now let's hear from you. Join our community on Facebook, Side Hustle City. It's a group where people share ideas, share their inspirational stories, and motivate each other to be successful and turn their side hustle into their main hustle. We'll see you there, and we'll see you next week on the show. Thank you.